Lyra Montgomery stood in the boutique, surrounded by a sea of luxurious dresses that shimmered under the bright lights. Her fingers traced the delicate fabric of a gown, but her expression was anything but serene. "This is unacceptable," she erupted, her voice sharp and echoing through the upscale store. The boutique staff exchanged worried glances, trying to calm the storm brewing in front of them. "Ms. Montgomery, please, we can fix this," one employee pleaded, her hands raised in a gesture of peace. But Lyra was beyond reason, her frustration spilling over like a spilled cup of coffee. The hidden camera in the corner captured every moment, exposing the stark contrast between Lyra's privileged life and the daily struggles of those who served her. "Do you even understand how important this is?" Lyra continued, her eyes blazing with indignation. She glanced around, noticing the nervous faces of the staff. They were just trying to do their jobs, but in that moment, she felt like the world revolved around her. The reality of their lives seemed distant and irrelevant. As the tension escalated, a familiar voice cut through the chaos. "Lyra, can we talk?" Tessa, her childhood friend, stepped forward. She had been watching from the sidelines, her heart heavy with unease. But her gentle approach was met with scorn. "Not now, Tessa," Lyra snapped, her tone dismissive. "This is more important." Tessa hesitated, a frown crossing her face. She could see the frustration boiling within Lyra, but she also sensed something deeper, an insecurity lurking beneath the surface. "You're making a scene," Tessa tried again, her voice softening. "Is this really how you want to handle this?" Lyra paused, her breath hitching for a moment. The fire in her eyes flickered as a moment of vulnerability broke through her facade. I need to look perfect for the gala," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. The weight of her self-worth hung in the air, revealing the cracks in her armor. Tessa took a step closer, her gaze steady. "Lyra, you're so much more than what you wear. You know that, right?" She reached out, hoping to connect with her friend, but Lyra recoiled, the walls around her heart rising again. "It's not just about the dress, Tessa. It's everything," Lyra exclaimed, her voice rising once more. "Everyone is counting on me to look flawless. I can't let them down." The boutique staff exchanged glances, unsure of how to proceed. They had seen this side of Lyra before, a storm of emotions that often left destruction in its wake. Yet, as they watched, they couldn't help but feel a pang of empathy for the woman who seemed trapped within her own gilded cage. Tessa took a deep breath, knowing this was a pivotal moment. "Lyra, you don't have to prove anything to anyone. You are enough just as you are." Her words hung in the air like a lifeline, but Lyra turned away, unwilling to catch it. The hidden camera kept rolling, capturing the intensity of the moment. It was a stark reminder that while Lyra lived in a world of luxury, she was also grappling with feelings of inadequacy that her wealth couldn't erase. The employees stood by, witnessing the clash of privilege and vulnerability, each person caught in their own struggle. "Maybe I'm not enough," Lyra finally whispered, her bravado faltering. The admission felt heavy, like a weight had been lifted, yet replaced with another burden. Tessa's heart ached for her friend, recognizing the battle that raged beneath the surface. In that boutique, surrounded by opulence, the truth began to unravel. A truth that would challenge the very fabric of their friendship and force both women to confront the realities of their lives. Would Lyra allow herself to embrace the vulnerability that came with honesty? And would Tessa find a way to reach her friend before the storm of emotions took them both down different paths? As the camera continued to capture the scene, the air was thick with the tension of unspoken words and unresolved feelings, leaving the boutique staff and onlookers alike wondering what would unfold next. Tessa sat at her small desk, surrounded by piles of papers and colorful drawings made by her students. The classroom was filled with the sounds of laughter and chatter as children worked on their projects. She smiled, watching them, feeling a sense of fulfillment that came from teaching. Yet, in the back of her mind, a heaviness lingered. She thought about Lyra. The memory of their friendship flooded back to her. They had grown up together, best friends since childhood. But as Tessa remembered their shared moments, she couldn't shake the feeling that Lyra had never truly understood the challenges of life outside her privileged bubble. Tessa recalled a day from their past. They were in high school, sitting on the steps of Tessa's small apartment building. Lyra had just returned from a shopping spree with her mother. She waved a shiny new purse in the air, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Look at this, Tessa. It cost a fortune," Lyra exclaimed, her voice high with joy. Tessa had smiled, but inside, her heart sank. "That's cool, Lyra, but do you know how much my mom had to work to pay the bills this month?" Lyra waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, come on. You're always worried about money. Just enjoy life. It's not like you can't have fun because of it." The memory stung Tessa. It reminded her how often she had felt like an outsider in Lyra's world. They were different, and sometimes, Tessa wondered if Lyra even cared to understand her struggles. Now, as she stood in her classroom, Tessa felt a growing urge to confront her friend. The incident at the boutique replayed in her mind, the hidden camera, Lyra's outburst, the way she had belittled the staff. Tessa knew Lyra needed to hear the truth, but how could she approach it without hurting their friendship? After school, Tessa sat in her car, staring at the phone in her hand. Should she call Lyra? What would she even say? The thought of facing Lyra made her heart race. Tessa took a deep breath and decided to leave a message. "Hey Lyra, it's me. I saw what happened at the boutique. I think we need to talk. Please call me back." She pressed send, her stomach twisting with nerves. Later that evening, she received a text from Lyra. "I don't want to talk about it right now. I'm feeling overwhelmed." Tessa felt a wave of disappointment wash over her. It was typical of Lyra to retreat into her world when things got tough, but Tessa knew she had to push through. Their friendship had always been important to her, even when it felt one-sided. She remembered the times they had laughed together, the secrets they had shared. Tessa believed there was still a chance to bridge the gap between their lives. The next day, she decided to visit Lyra. She drove to the boutique where Lyra often shopped. The place was as luxurious as ever, but today, the glitz seemed dull. Tessa took a deep breath and walked inside. "Hi, Tessa. What brings you here?" The boutique manager greeted her, surprised to see the teacher in such a lavish place. "I'm looking for Lyra," Tessa replied, her voice steady despite her racing heart. As she walked through the store, Tessa spotted Lyra sitting on a plush chair, scrolling through her phone. Lyra looked up, her expression shifting from surprise to annoyance. "Tessa, what are you doing here?" Lyra asked, her tone clipped. "I came to talk to you," Tessa said, crossing her arms. "We need to discuss what happened." Lyra rolled her eyes. "I really don't want to get into it. It was just a bad day." "But it's more than that, Lyra," Tessa pushed gently. "You hurt people. You need to understand why that matters." Lyra sighed, looking away. "You don't get it. You're not in my shoes. It's hard to be me too." Tessa felt a flicker of hope. "Then let me help you see it. I want to share my world with you. You can't live in a bubble forever." Lyra hesitated, her expression softening. Tessa could see the walls crumbling just a little. Maybe, just maybe, they could find a way to understand each other after all. The hidden footage from the boutique spread like wildfire across social media. Within hours, it reached millions of viewers, igniting a storm of criticism and support. Lyra Montgomery found herself at the center of a public spectacle, her privileged life now under scrutiny. She sat in her lavish bedroom, scrolling through her phone in disbelief. Each notification felt like a punch to her gut. "Look at what they're saying," she muttered to herself, her heart racing. The comments ranged from harsh criticisms of her entitled behavior to surprising messages of support from those who felt she had been misunderstood. But the overwhelming sentiment was one of anger, and it was directed at her. Meanwhile, Tessa Harper watched the video from her small apartment. As a public school teacher, she was no stranger to the struggles of her students and their families. Seeing Lyra's outburst felt like a betrayal. How could she not see the impact of her words? Tessa whispered, shaking her head in disbelief. Anger mixed with sadness in her chest as the memories of their friendship flooded back. Despite her feelings, Tessa knew she had to reach out. She picked up her phone, hesitated for a moment, and then typed a message to Lyra. "Can we talk?" She hit send, her heart pounding with the uncertainty of what would come next. Lyra received the message and felt a wave of relief mixed with dread. Tessa was one of the few people who could understand her. But would she want to talk after what had happened? Lyra took a deep breath and replied, "Yes, I'd like that. Can we meet tomorrow?" The next day, the two friends met at a cozy cafe, a spot they had frequented in their younger days. The air was thick with tension as they sat across from each other, both struggling to find the right words. The chatter of other customers faded into the background as they locked eyes. "I saw the video," Tessa started, her voice steady but soft. "It hurt to watch. I can't believe you reacted that way." Lyra looked down at her hands, twisting the silver ring on her finger. "I know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't mean to. I was just so stressed and overwhelmed." "That doesn't excuse it," Tessa replied, her tone firm but not unkind. "You have to understand that people are suffering, and your reaction only made it worse." Lyra felt a lump form in her throat. "I get that now, but I didn't see it then. I've always been in this bubble, Tessa. I thought my problems were the only ones that mattered." "Your problems do matter, but they're not the only ones," Tessa said gently. "You have to see beyond yourself. There's a whole world out there, and it's not like ours." Lyra nodded slowly, absorbing Tessa's words. "I know I need to change. I want to understand, but I don't know how." Tessa leaned in, her eyes searching Lyra's. "Maybe start by listening. Talk to people who are different from you. Learn about their lives. It's not going to be easy, but it's worth it." "I'm scared," Lyra confessed, her voice trembling. "What if I embarrass myself? What if they don't want to talk to me?" "Then you keep trying," Tessa encouraged. "It's about showing them you care, even if you stumble along the way. You have to be willing to step outside your comfort zone." Lyra took a deep breath, feeling a mix of anxiety and determination. "Okay, I'll try. I want to be better. I don't want to be that person anymore." Tessa smiled, her heart warming at Lyra's admission. "That's all I want for you, to see the world through a different lens." As they continued to talk, an unspoken understanding began to grow between them. The weight of past grievances started to lift, replaced by a glimmer of hope for their friendship. Lyra realized that this moment was not just about her mistakes, but about the possibility of redemption. "I'm glad we're talking," Lyra said, her voice stronger now. "I don't want to lose you as a friend." "You won't," Tessa reassured her, "but it's going to take effort from both of us. We can figure this out together." In that moment, Lyra felt a shift within her. It was the beginning of a journey, one she was finally ready to take. As Tessa and Lyra sat across from each other in the cozy cafe, the atmosphere felt heavy. The sound of cups clinking and the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, but neither of them noticed. Instead, they were caught in a moment of silence, each lost in their own thoughts. Tessa could see the tension on Lyra's face, and she felt a mix of hope and dread. "Lyra," Tessa finally said, breaking the silence, "I need to talk to you about what happened at the boutique." Lyra shifted in her seat, her gaze dropping to the table. "I know, Tessa. The video. It went viral. Everyone is talking about it." Her voice was barely above a whisper, tinged with shame. Tessa took a deep breath, gathering her thoughts. "You know, it's not just about the video. It's about what you said, how you acted. It hurt a lot of people." She paused, searching for the right words. "I know you didn't mean for it to go that way, but you have to understand the impact of your actions." Lyra looked up, her blue eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I never thought about it like that. I was just so frustrated. I felt trapped." She paused, trying to find the courage to continue. but I know that doesn't excuse anything." Tessa leaned forward, her heart aching for her friend. "We all have our struggles, Lyra. I mean, look at me. I work long hours as a teacher, and sometimes it feels like no one cares. I know I've been difficult." Tessa shook her head. "It's okay. I just want to see you grow. You have so much potential, Lyra. If you really want to understand, maybe you could come to my school. See what it's like for my students." Lyra's eyes widened in surprise. "You mean it? You think I should?" "Absolutely," Tessa replied, her smile growing. "It could open your eyes in ways you never expected, and it might even help you connect with people who need it." Lyra took a deep breath, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. "All right, I'll do it. I'll come to your school." She smiled, a genuine smile that illuminated her face. "I want to learn. I want to do better." As they talked, the tension began to lift, replaced by a sense of understanding and hope. Tessa could see the change beginning in Lyra, a spark of realization igniting within her. It was a small step, but it was a step toward a deeper empathy and connection. "Thank you for being brave enough to talk to me, Tessa," Lyra said, her voice steady. "I know this is just the beginning, but I feel like I can finally start to understand." Tessa nodded, her heart swelling with pride for her friend. "We'll take it one step at a time, together." As they left the cafe, both women felt a renewed sense of purpose, ready to face the challenges ahead. As the sun rose over the city, the sky painted in soft hues of orange and pink, Lyra Montgomery felt a nervous flutter in her stomach. Today marked a new beginning. She stood in front of her closet, staring at the array of clothes, each piece a symbol of her past life. The luxurious fabrics and designer labels seemed to mock her as she thought about her promise to change. With a deep breath, she reached for a simple t-shirt and jeans. "Less is more," she whispered to herself, recalling Tessa's words from their last meeting. For the first time in a long while, Lyra felt the weight of her choices pressing down on her. Arriving at Tessa's school, Lyra felt out of place. The building was old, with faded paint and laughter echoing in the hallways. Children rushed past her, their faces bright with excitement. "Hey, you made it," Tessa called out, her smile warm and welcoming. She stood by the entrance, her arms open for a hug. "I'm really nervous," Lyra admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's okay. Just be yourself," Tessa encouraged, taking her hand and leading her inside. "The kids will love you." As they walked through the school, Lyra observed the classrooms filled with colorful posters and art projects. "It's so different here," she commented, glancing at Tessa. "I never realized how much these kids need support." "They do," Tessa replied, her tone serious. "They face challenges every day. Just being here means a lot to them." Their first stop was a classroom filled with energetic fourth graders. Tessa introduced Lyra with enthusiasm. "Everyone, this is Lyra. She is going to help us today." The students looked at her with curiosity, some whispering to each other. "Hi everyone," Lyra said, her voice shaky but genuine. "I'm excited to be here." A boy in the front raised his hand. "Do you have a lot of money?" he asked bluntly, his eyes wide with innocence. Lyra felt a flush creep up her cheeks. Yes, but that's not what's important today," she said, trying to find the right words. "What matters is helping each other." Tessa stepped in, sensing Lyra's discomfort. "Let's start with a fun activity," she announced. "How about we draw our dreams?" As the children settled down with paper and crayons, Lyra walked around, peeking at their creations. A little girl drew a picture of a house with a rainbow. "What's this?" Lyra asked, kneeling beside her. "It's my dream house," the girl exclaimed, her eyes shining. "I want a big yard for my puppy." "That sounds amazing." Lyra smiled, feeling a warmth in her heart. She continued to walk around, listening to each child's dream, feeling her initial nerves begin to fade. Later, during break time, Tessa sat with Lyra. "How are you feeling?" she asked, her expression full of support. I think I'm starting to get it, Lyra said, her eyes bright. These kids have so much hope. It's inspiring. Exactly, Tessa replied, her voice encouraging. You're doing great. Just keep connecting with them. As the day unfolded, Lyra found herself engaging more with the students. She played games, helped with reading, and even shared a few laughs. Each interaction chipped away at her old self, revealing a new version of Lyra who was eager to learn and grow. At one point, she noticed a boy sitting alone, his head down. She approached him gently. Hey there, what's your name? She asked softly. Tommy, he mumbled, not looking up. Tommy, do you want to join us for a game? Lyra offered, hoping to include him. After a moment of hesitation, he looked up, his eyes filled with uncertainty. I'm not good at games. I believe you can do it, Lyra encouraged, feeling a surge of determination. Let's just have fun together, okay? Slowly, a smile spread across Tommy's face. Okay, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. As they played, Lyra felt a sense of triumph. It was a small victory, but it mattered. She realized that her presence could make a difference, even in a small way. This was just the beginning of her journey towards understanding and empathy, and she was ready for every step. As the school day came to an end, Tessa and Lyra walked out together, the sun setting behind them. You did it, Lyra, Tessa cheered, her pride evident. I did, Lyra replied, her heart full. And I want to keep doing it. There's so much more to learn. Their laughter echoed in the evening air, a sound of hope and friendship renewed. Lyra Montgomery stood before the mirror in her bedroom, the soft light of the early evening casting a warm glow around her. As she looked at her reflection, she felt a mix of emotions. The girl staring back at her was different now. Gone was the image of the privileged young woman who once defined herself by her possessions. Instead, she saw someone who was learning to value genuine connections over material wealth. Who are you, really? She whispered to herself, her voice barely above a murmur. The question hung in the air, and for the first time, she felt the weight of it. She thought about all the moments that had led her here, the outburst in the boutique, the viral video, and the hard conversation with Tessa. Each step had chipped away at the walls she had built around herself. Just then, there was a gentle knock on the door. Tessa entered with a warm smile and a reassuring presence. Hey, Lyra, are you ready for the event? She asked, her tone light yet encouraging. Lyra took a deep breath and nodded. I think so. I have to be, right? This is important. Tessa walked closer, her eyes filled with understanding. It is important. You've come so far. Just be yourself. You don't have to pretend to be someone you're not. Lyra sighed, looking back at her reflection. I just hope they listen. I want to show them that I've changed, that I understand now. They will listen, Tessa said confidently. You're not the same person who lashed out in the boutique. You've grown. Just speak from your heart. As they left the room, Lyra felt a flutter of anxiety in her stomach. The event was being held at a local community center, a place she had never paid much attention to before. It was filled with people from different backgrounds, all gathered to hear stories of change and growth. As they arrived, Lyra could see the crowd buzzing with anticipation. Look, there's a lot of people here, Tessa pointed out, her excitement infectious. They're here to hear stories like yours. You can inspire them. Lyra swallowed hard, her palms slightly sweaty. What if they don't want to hear from me? What if they just see me as the spoiled girl I used to be? Tessa placed a reassuring hand on Lyra's shoulder. You're not that girl anymore. You have something real to share. Just remember, everyone makes mistakes. It's how we learn. As the event started, Lyra listened to the other speakers share their journeys. Each story was filled with pain and resolution, and she felt a growing sense of connection with each speaker. Finally, it was her turn. The moment felt surreal. She stepped up to the microphone, her heart pounding in her chest. "Hi everyone," she began, her voice shaky. "My name is Lyra Montgomery. A few months ago, I was someone who didn't really understand the world around me. I was caught up in my own life, and I didn't see the struggles of others." She glanced at Tessa, who gave her an encouraging nod. "I had an outburst in a boutique that went viral. At first, I was angry and embarrassed. But then, I realized that my actions had consequences. I hurt people who were just trying to do their jobs." As she spoke, she could see the audience leaning in, their expressions shifting from curiosity to empathy. "I started volunteering at a school, and it opened my eyes. I met kids who faced challenges I couldn't even imagine. They showed me kindness, and in return, I learned what it means to truly connect with others." Tears welled in her eyes as she continued, "I've learned that it's not about what you have, but who you have in your life. I am grateful for my friend Tessa, who believed in me and stood by my side. I want to be a better person, and I want to help others understand the importance of empathy and kindness." The room was silent, and Lyra could feel the weight of her words sinking in. "I hope you all can join me on this journey. Let's make the world a better place, together." As she stepped back from the microphone, the crowd erupted into applause. Tessa rushed to her side, her eyes sparkling with pride. "You did it, Lyra. That was amazing." Lyra smiled wider than she ever had before, feeling a sense of liberation wash over her. She had taken a step into the light, embracing her new path of compassion. In that moment, she understood the true value of relationships, not defined by status, but by the connections forged through understanding and love. Share this story if you believe that genuine connections can transform lives and lead to a better world. Leave a comment about a moment when empathy changed your perspective, and subscribe for more inspiring stories like this one.